There we go. Okay. Let me bring my seat up a little bit. What? That's the wrong way. That's going to be in the way, isn't it? That's good enough for now. Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. I'm going to back up a bit here. You can see here I've got my damn fine cup of coffee. Hope everyone's having a great weekend so far. As promised, I would be on today, although not with a 1966 game, but rather a 1982 stats update. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, probably a lot of you saw that one coming. Oh, it's backwards that way, isn't it? Well, hell's bells. All right, fine. Let's see what we got here. Let's go ahead and zoom in on the... Yeah, I came on a little early because I always forget how I set this up. I think that has to go over there, doesn't it? And probably use the light, maybe. Let's see. Well, hello there, Cosmo and Franklin. Okay, let's see if this is readable at all. I could... probably zoom in a little bit more, huh? Not that much more. I don't know, can you read it? Every time I do this, it's different. Okay, wait a minute. If we tip it down, yeah, I think the problem is, hang on, I'm still too far off that way. That might be good. I don't know, I'll throw it out to you guys. Can you read it okay? That's the American League standings. You can see it. Well, that's all that's important, Cosmo. Yeah. Okay, I got my damn fine cup of coffee. This is the 1982 full season replay, which I do on the Windows game. Let's see, Milwaukee's played 103 games. So we're close to the 2/3 mark in this season. Let me get my reading glasses on. Sorry about this. I'm having a little difficulty setting up today. I'm not sure if the light helps or makes it worse, honestly. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to go with that. I think if you were watching this on your TV, or a larger screen, it would probably be fine. The only race really in any of the four divisions is in the American League East, where we have a 3-team race. Milwaukee Brewers, who would win the division in real life, they lead it by 2.5 over the Red Sox and 4 over the Indians. And even Toronto, although they're 9 games back, 54 and 47. That would put them in second place in the Western Division. In fact, the Yankees, 51 and 47. Baltimore in sixth place, they're at 500. That would be good for third place in the West. Only 2 Western teams over 500. Kansas City Royals, who would finish in second place in real life, as seen here, to the California Angels. They're running away with it, 11 games ahead of the White Sox, 18 ahead of the underachieving Angels. So that's both of my replays where the Angels are underachieving. I can tell you that without even thinking about it too hard. And a quick look at the National League standings. St. Louis Cardinals, who would go on to win the World Series that year in real life, they have an 8.5 game lead on the Pirates. And the Montreal Expos, the only other team in the East over 500 at 52 and 49. They're 14 games back. Phillies, Cubs, and Mets. Mets with the worst record in the National League. So it's both of my replays. The Mets are not doing well. The Dodgers, who would finish in second place in real life, 1 game behind the Braves. They're leading the Braves by 11.5 at this point. The Braves underachieving and the Dodgers greatly overachieving. At this point in real life, 56 wins. They have 68. Just slightly behind the Cardinals for the best record in the league. Padres in third. They're over 500. So in the National League, 3 teams in each division are over 500. It's more evenly spread out in the National League. I'll bet it does, Cosmo. Yeah, that's where I usually watch all of my stuff on a 55. Much easier on these old eyes to see it, right? San Francisco, Houston, and Cincinnati bring up the rear. So the Cardinals are at 650. Let's compare that to the American League. The Cardinals have the best record in baseball, 650 winning percentage. And let's see, let's go down here to the first grand totals, okay? I'm trying to get all of the pitchers in there too. Can't quite get it all, but close. You can see the Red Sox and the Royals leading in batting average. Let's see how that translates to, I can't talk today. See how that translates to runs scored. The Red Sox do indeed lead in runs scored at 521. Kansas City, however, at 499, there are 5 teams that have scored more runs. So once again, something we all know, a good team batting average does not necessarily mean a lot of runs scored. It helps, of course. Second would be the Indians, wouldn't it? 514. They're middle of the pack in batting average. The Harvey's Wallbangers there, the Brewers, not surprisingly, leading in home runs with 130. Twins 119. Angels 119. And in fourth place, the Yankees with 112 home runs, also over 100. Detroit at 101. And Baltimore has 100. Baltimore's really underachieved in this as well. Pitching, the league ERA at 4.02. Kansas City leading. Milwaukee right on their heels. So there's your division leaders. That does seem to be more of a coinciding statistic. If you're pitching well, probably going to have a good record. Toronto, New York, Seattle round out the top 5 in team ERA. Twins can't pitch for 5.22, and what's wrong with the Angels? Well, you don't have to look any further than their team ERA, second to the last in the league. Most specifically for them, it's the bullpen. Their bullpen is a catastrophe. I think Doug Corbett's their best reliever, and that wasn't even really a particularly outstanding year for Doug Corbett. Jumping over to the National League, the Pirates, 283 team batting average. Cubs 274, Padres 271. League average at 265. And the Dodgers and St. Louis, the division leaders, right around the league average in batting average. But let's go to runs scored. The Pirates are leading in runs, 507. The Cubs second with 484. The Expos third at 479. Then the Dodgers and the Cardinals 477 and 476, rounding out the top 5 in runs scored. But again, it comes back to the team ERA, doesn't it? The Dodgers pitching leading the league 3.01. The Padres kind of surprising, second at 3.21. And of course the Cardinals, a fine pitching record, 3.34 ERA. Third in the league, but still a very good ERA, and they have the best record in baseball. Cardinals also have a great defense. That's something that does not show up in these numbers. Anchored by Ozzie Smith at short, but really their whole infield is good. And their outfield, with the exception of Lonnie Smith in left field. Let's take a look at that for a minute. I'll show you what I mean. How would you do that? No, that's not what I want. Hang on, I know what I want. Reports. That does not show the defense, though, does it? Bear with me, I'm just playing around with it here. So there is no one screen where you can see all their defensive ratings, apparently. Super Hal report. Yes, there is. Okay, here it is. Yeah, the draft league report. So you've got a Gold Glover at first, Hernandez. Tommy Herr, 2E12 at second. Oberkfell, the primary third baseman, a 2E14. Ozzie Smith, of course, a 1E16. Willie McGee is a 2 in center, albeit with a high error range. George Henrik, a 2E8 in right with a -3 arm. And Smith, actually an average 3E10. He's not terrible in left. So excellent defense at 6 positions and passable at a 7th. Catching, no good arms behind the plate, but Porter, the main catcher, a 3E4. You can win with that. Okay, let's see where I'm at now. Okay, let's go back to the American League for a second. We'll take a look at the newspaper style recap. A favorite of mine. As you get a condensed look at the standings, along with the top 5 in several categories. Batting average, Willie Wilson with a 352 average leading the league. Rich Dower, kind of surprisingly, 331. Cecil Cooper, 330. Damaso Garcia, 326. Toby Harrah, 321. Harrah having a fine year. He's leading the league in home runs with 30. Cooper and Reggie Jackson, 24. Also Lance Parrish of Detroit, 24. Others tied with 23. And RBIs, Jim Rice with 84. Cecil Cooper, 83. Andre Thornton of Cleveland, 79. His teammate Hara is fifth with 74. And in fourth place, Doug DeCinces, 75. Luis Leal of Toronto and Dave Steve of Toronto among the league leaders in wins. Len Barker also has 13. So it's Leal 14, Steve and Barker 13, Mike Caldwell has a dozen, and Britt Burns has a dozen. Gossage, of course, pacing the way in saves, not surprisingly. That was a fantastic year for Gossage. 25 saves, Raleigh Fingers 22, Bill Caudle of Seattle 18, Dan Quisenberry 17, and Salome Barojas of the White Sox with 15. How many remember Barojas? I didn't until I started playing this. In ERA, Quisenberry, a relief pitcher, leads the league in ERA. So he's worked a lot of innings out of the pen. He has to work an inning a game on average to qualify. 162 innings, prorated. Jim Beattie at 2.32, Eckersley at 2.5. Eckersley was still a starter for Boston at this point in time, as was Bob McClure, who would later become a reliever. Left-handed starter for Milwaukee at 2.65, and Len Barker at 2.67. Reed Nichols has a 10-game hitting streak going. And look at Ricky Henderson. We're not even almost two-thirds of the way into the season. He already has 109 stolen bases. He'll shatter his real-life total. Damaso Garcia, in almost any other year, would be leading with 58. Julio Cruz of the Mariners, 38. We have Paul Molitor and Willie Wilson with 37 apiece. In strikeouts, Floyd Bannister has 139. Len Barker, 122. Jim Beattie, 115. Ron Guidry, 114. And Jack Morris of the Tigers, 108. And then this is where I get a lot of the who's hot, who's not, which I've been incorporating into the 66 replay just recently. They even have the transactions. I never noticed that before. California promoted Louis Tiant. Wow. He must have been getting gray in the beard by 1982. These are the stats, Cosmo, from the games I've played, with the playing cards based on the numbers from the 1982 season. So they're going to vary quite a bit from the real life numbers. For more on that, you might check out my video. It's a short one. It's only about 12 minutes. Strat-O-Matic, how accurate is it? That explains it much better than I could. Going over to the National League, we find Bill Buckner leading in hitting right now at 346, Dave Concepcion 339, Bill Madlock 328, Leon Durham 328, and Cesar Cedeno 326. Mike Schmidt leads in home runs with 30, which would tie him with Toby Hara for the Major League lead. Jason Thompson of the Pirates with 23 and quite a few with 22. In RBIs, it's still Bo Diaz, the Philly catcher. He's really overachieving his card. Still leading the league in runs batted in. Of course, he's hitting behind Schmidt and Gary Matthews. That helps. Bill Buckner, 71. Schmidt and Al Oliver, 70. Others tied with 68. In wins, it's Fernando Valenzuela and Tim Lawler with 16 wins. Joaquin Andujar, 15. Mario Soto, 14. And that's with a losing club. That's impressive for Soto. Scott Sanders of the Expos with 13. Bruce Sutter, despite all of his other stats being subpar, still leads the league in saves with 22. Steve Howe with 20, Kent DeColvey 17, Gene Garber 16, Greg Minton with a dozen. In ERA, it's Fernando with 2.12, Andujar 2.22, Scott Sanders 2.27, Bob Forsch of St. Louis 2.3, and Charlie Lee of Montreal 2.31. Ron Cey has a current 10-game hitting streak. Leading in steals is Omar Moreno with 49. That would just be good for third place in the American League. Tim Raines 46, Bob Dernier 42, Lonnie Smith and Mookie Wilson with 41 steals. Strikeouts, Steve Carlton pacing everybody with 191. Mario Soto 174. Nolan Ryan 154. Valenzuela 147. And his teammate Bob Welch 125. Who's hot, who's not? And as the regulars know, I tend to brush through a lot of these things, so you can always freeze it if you want to take a longer look, for instance, at who's hot and who's not. I see there were no transactions to report in the National League on this day. Does it show the date? It doesn't, does it? Yeah, it does, right there. August 2nd, 1982. So what else do I do on these things? Oh, I know. We go to the full league leaders. Yeah, of course we do. Let me get some coffee in me here. So we saw the top 5 in batting on the newspaper report. Andre Dawson, 6th at 323. Dale Murphy, Chris Chambliss, Bo Diaz, Al Oliver, Jason Thompson, Lonnie Smith, all at 306 or higher. At bats, I don't really care about that. Runs scored, Jason Thompson 74, Andre Dawson, Al Oliver 71, Steve Sachs, Keith Hernandez, and Ryan Sandberg 68, Madlock 65, and so it goes. Buckner leading in hits, 151. Andre Dawson leads in doubles with 32. Terry Kennedy and Ray Knight, 29. Bill Buckner, 27. Dale Barra, Steve Garvey, and Phil Garner all tied for 5th with 26 doubles. Tim Raines leading in triples with 7. Steve Sachs, Tim Flannery, and Lonnie Smith all have 6 triples. And home runs, of course, the newspaper only showed us the top 2, and that's because 4 players were tied for 3rd with 22. Bob Horner, Bo Diaz, Pedro Guerrero, and Chili Davis. Wallach, Kingman, Murphy, and Cey round out the leaders. There's the rest of the RBI leaders. Jason Thompson leading in walks with 77. This is always interesting, intentional walks. For those who don't know, in this replay, I play all of the home team against the computer. So I play everybody's home games. So half of the games are managed by the computer. The computer tends to be more liberal with intentional walks than I do. Lonnie Smith with 19 intentional walks. A lot of that, and I mentioned this before, is due by where he bats in the order. He normally bats 5th, and he's the last real threat in that lineup. So I understand why he gets walked so much. Dave Kingman's already whiffed 106 times. That should come as no surprise to anyone. Lonnie Smith's been plunked 8 times. Bump Wills, Maury's kid, and Dave Kingman 7. Sacrifice hits is mostly pitchers, although Glenn Hubbard is 2nd in the league, the Atlanta's 2nd baseman. And then you have the rest of the stolen base leaders. Stolen base percentage, grounded into double play, Longest hitting streak of the season is Buckner's 25. Pinch hitting average, man, Lee Lacy off the bench. How about that? Slugging and on base. Okay, Mike Schmidt, 584. Jason Thompson, 569. Bo Diaz, Leon Durham, and Pedro Guerrero round out the top 5. Just missing Andre Dawson, Bill Madlock, Tim Wallach. Thompson leading in on base with a 434. Lonnie Smith, 414. Durham, Cedeno, and Dale Murphy round out the top 5. And of course, by virtue of being second in slugging and first in on base, Jason Thompson leads in OPS. People have different opinions on the value of OPS, but it's just on base plus slugging. Mike Schmidt, Leon Durham, Dale Murphy, Bill Madlock rounding out the top 5, just missing Bo Diaz, the RBI leader, once again. I'm not sold on runs created per 27 outs, but there it is. Let's jump down to the pitching. We saw the top 5 in ERA. Here's the rest. Tim Lawler, Nolan Ryan, Joe Niekro, Bill Lasky, Fergie Jenkins, Mario Soto, and John Count Montefusco. There's your innings pitched leaders. Games pitched, games started, complete games. Carlton with 11, Soto with 10. Valenzuela and Lawler with 9. Sutton and Rogers with 8. There's the rest of the save leaders. In shutouts, quite a few pitchers have 3 shutouts. I won't list them all. You can look at that. You can pause that at any time. And I find that most people watch the stats update later on the replay, since it's not pre-announced. There's only 6 people in here now, according to my numbers up here on the YouTube. Walks. Don Robinson's walked 91 already. Ouch. It's a lot of walks, 2/3 of a season. Strikeouts, we saw the top 5. Sutton, Krukow, Candelaria, Sanderson, Bruce Berenier of the Reds, Tim Lawler, Bill Gullickson. Jump back over to the American League. We'll do the same thing. We saw the top 5 in batting. Toby Harrah in 6th at 321. John Wathan, 318. Dwight Evans, 316. Fred Lynn, Jim Rice, 311. Lance Parrish, 310. Willie Upshaw, 308. Lou Whitaker, 306. Runs scored, it's Evans and Harrah with 89. Cecil Cooper, 71. Garcia and Jerry Remy round out the top 5 there. Damaso Garcia leading in hits. In doubles, it's Robin Yount with 37. Garcia, 31. Fred Lynn and Frank White, 30. Al Cowens rounds out the top 5 with 29. And Herndon leads the majors with 13 triples. He's on his way to 20 triples at this pace. Hal McRae has 10. Here's the rest of the home run leaders. It showed us the top 4 with several tied at 23. Who are the several? It's Ben Ogilvy and Gorman Thomas of the Brewers. Dwight Evans, Jim Rice, Greg Nettles, DeCinces, and Thornton round out the leaders. There's the rest of the RBI leaders. We saw the top 5. Henderson, the walking machine with 102 walks. That goes a long way to accounting for the stolen base total. He's on base constantly. Bruce Bochy, 11 intentional walks. Harold Baines, 10. There's the steals again. I mean, I can't get over that. I definitely try to push him when I'm managing the A's at home, but apparently Hal's pushing him a lot when they're on the road as well to have that many. Let's see where the on base is. Wow. I would have expected Ricky Henderson to be much higher on that list. He's not even on the list. What? With 109 walks, or what did he have? 102 walks. Okay, hang on a second. He must not have enough at bats to qualify. Let's go in here to Oakland and see. No, he only has a 363 on base. That makes the steals even more amazing. That's the real life numbers there in white, by the way, especially for Cosmo's benefit. And then the numbers in blue are what they've done in my replay so far. Oh my God, he's batting 186. Look at this. He hit 267 that year. He's hitting 186. But with 102 walks, he's going to cross 150 walks, way more than he walked in real life. That's interesting, isn't it? That's interesting, Franklin. So you have a good stat package, too. You can get into all kinds of things. I'll do that in a minute. We'll take a player and break it down. So OPS, it's Hara, Dwight Evans, Lynn, Cecil Cooper, and Lance Parrish. Total bases is Toby Hara. We'll look at Toby Hara. That'll be interesting. We might look at another player too. Let's jump down to the pitching. There's the top 5 in ERA we already saw. Then you have Dan Petrie, Leal, Dave Stieb, Steve Trout, Mike Caldwell, Rick Sutcliffe, and Pete Vukovich. Complete games, Dave Stieb with 14, Rick Langford, Leal, and Len Barker 13. Jim Clancy, Jack Morris, 12. Lamar Hoyt's in the leaders, 11. Eckersley with 10. There's the rest of the save leaders. We saw the top 5 already. Stanley, Murray, Spillner, Martinez, and Davis. Gossage, 962 save percentage. Only 4 pitchers have 3 shutouts. So nobody has 4 yet. Strikeouts, we saw the top 5. Eckersley in 6th. Burns, Moose Hawes of Milwaukee. Let me show you what they do here. How you can really break these down. You can take one player. This is Toby Hara, okay? You've got his game log report. It shows what he did in every game. Then you've got his detail report. It's got his lefty-righty, what he batting in every spot in the lineup, okay? Interestingly, Hara's only batted in the 2 spot all year. So we're going to find another player who moves around the lineup a little bit more. What he did in the clutch, what he did with the bases loaded, what he did against each team, what he did at home road, day, night, and then by the month. You've got his base running, okay? Is this base running advance? No, that's a stolen base only, I guess. Let's find another player. Let's go over here. I'm curious now about Lonnie Smith. I think he may have batted in more spots in the lineup. Yeah, see, here you go. Batting 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and 6th. He's batted all over the lineup. Even batted ninth 4 times. That was pinch hitting, obviously. 1982, the American League had the designated hitter. The National League did not. But he seems to do his best work batting first. And see, I was wrong about the intentional walks. All of his intentional walks have come batting first. Okay, well, let's see if this shows us the lineup. No. No, it wouldn't, because they're using the actual per game lineups. Okay, I'm just curious now. Whoops, no, you can't do that with the stats open. That'll F it up. Let's suppose we were going to play St. Louis. And that's not going to work either. I can do it this way. All the black scores are here too. Where the hell's St. Louis? Here we go. So Tommy Hurd generally hits behind him. Okay, well, let's try to solve this mystery here, shall we? My guess is Smith jumps up in the clutch, or at least doesn't subtract any. No, he actually does. He loses 1 in the clutch. If I had to guess, I would say Tommy Hurd drops in the clutch. Probably a lot. There's 3, that's 4, that's 7. That's quite a bit, but not as much as I thought it would be. So in short, I cannot explain it. I cannot explain why Lonnie Smith gets walked so much intentionally. Who's really underachieving? Baltimore's 4 games under where they were in real life, but they finished with 94. They finished in 2nd place that year, just a game back of Milwaukee. Although it looks here like they're not that far off their real life pace at this point. So they could get it going, much as they did in real life. That's not what I meant to do. Let's take a closer look at the Orioles and see what's wrong with them here. They're 4th in batting. They're solid in runs scored. 471 would be 3, 4, 5, 6. They're 7th in runs scored. Their problem's been on the mound primarily. 4.18 team ERA. So you could go down the line here if you wanted to. And you could look at all of these numbers, the white versus the blue, real life versus replay, and see who's underperforming. See, these guys, Boddicker didn't play much. Bunbury is about where he should be. Crowley doesn't play much. Dower is greatly overachieving. I figured he was. Batted 280 in real life. He's hitting 331 so far in the replay. Storm Davis is overachieving his card. Rick Dempsey is underachieving. Jim Dwyer is underachieving by quite a bit. Flanagan is really underachieving. Look at the difference in those numbers. Pretty good year in real life. He's getting clobbered in the replay. This is just the stats update. These games I don't broadcast live. I do the card and dice live. This is a side project. Because if I play solo against the computer, I can knock out a game in about 15 minutes. If I did it live, it'd take about 90 minutes. Flynn didn't play much. Ford has actually overachieved a bit. Grimsley didn't pitch that many innings. It's mostly the pitching, isn't it? Dennis Martinez is close. Tippy Martinez is close. McGregor is actually overachieving a little bit. Eddie Murray's really underachieving. I would have suspected that. Every time I play the game, I notice that when Murray comes up, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to do something here. He seems to disappoint me more often than not. I'm more interested in the pitchers right now. Palmer's underachieving. So you got a lot of pitchers underachieving. That would explain the high ERA. Stewart's close. Stoddard's having a terrible year so far. He had 12 saves in real life. He has 1 and a much higher ERA. Okay. I can't think of anything else that I normally show in this thing. If there's anything else you want to see, type it now or put it in the comments, and I'll try to include that next time. We're not that far away from a 1966 stats update. For those who don't know, it'll give you a little refresher course here. I do the stats update for both of these leagues at the conclusion of Sunday's games. So at weekend, we look at every week on the schedule, we do a stats update. So right now we're playing the games of Saturday in 1966 when Sunday's games are completed. So we're looking at a couple weeks probably. Then we'll have another stats update for 1966. Obviously, this goes much faster because I can knock the games out much faster. Sometimes I sit in the evening watching TV. I'll play 4 or 5 games. How many hot dogs were sold? You know, I have to write them a letter, Cosmo. Ask them why they don't include that. That's valuable information. Reminds me of the X-Files episode where Scully says something about explains what swamp gas is. It's a blue fluorescent something or other, and then Mulder says, that's what happens to me after I eat Dodger dogs. So that's the Windows game. That's the 1982 update. I had hoped for a little bit closer races, but you get what you get. If I had my druthers, I'd rather have the close races in 66, and we do on the card and dice. So since those are the games I'm streaming, I'd rather that league be close. So I guess that's a good thing. Oh, wow, so your game has the business, too. I remember the X-Cops, I sure do. Yeah, it was called X-Cops, that episode. I'm a big X-Files fan. I even know the names of the episodes. Well, I can't think of any more to add to this. As always, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Stats Update. As I say, most people will watch this later, so thank you for watching it. boring to a lot of people, I'm sure, but to the stats nerds, which frankly most of us playing tabletop simulations are stats nerds, I would guess. I have known people who played Strat-O-Matic who weren't into statistics at all, but they're few and far between. I'll be back tomorrow at 1:30, of course, with the 1966 regularly scheduled game. And with that, I'm going to bid you farewell. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Beautiful day here in Spokane. I'm going to get outside today. So thanks once again for all of the support, everybody. I'll see you for tomorrow's live game. Bye for now. Take care, everyone.